And welcome to another edition of Working for Charities. I'm with the team. I've got the big fella, John Absey, who played the bear for 25 years, and each one of those years, John did over 200 events where you go visit kids, charities, anything, dressed up as the bear. And a lot of people get us confused. Randall and I, hit the gym with John every morning.
They're right there.
Yeah, we're right there watching.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
the muscly one over there is Randall Carlisle, longtime news anchor here and around the country.
I played news anchor for 40 years. So
you did?
Like he played bears.
Was there a lot of heavy lifting involved?
Oh, extremely. You gotta clear your throat a little and have a deep voice and put on makeup. I mean, it's a tough job.
It's a tough gig, but someone has to do it.
That's right.
And I'm Trip Mitchell, a sportscaster down in Vegas, lucky enough to be living here right now. And we got together to help John's charity, which is called workingforcharities.org. And Working for Charities is a group to assist smaller charities and to help people out who are doing the best work for people in and around the state of Utah. And our show is a way to introduce people to some wonderful people who are working so very hard to help people. And with that in mind, John, who's our guest this week?
Well, so this is great and an honor for me because Eldon is a dear friend that I've known for 25 years. We started working together with Child's Christmas. And you correct me if I'm wrong when I keep going, right?
That was not the first ones that we the group started before, but
it was wonderful.
it was.
Come on, man, I'm 25 years old.
His memories fade.
When you wear a costume like that for 25 years, you notice there are not a lot of Nobel laureates who wear bear
there wasn't
costumes.
much oxygen flowing through my head at the time, so I've been damaged.
So Eldon, you were a fireman.
I was.
That was your professional job.
It was. For 36 years, I was a fireman here in the Salt Lake Valley.
And that's fantastic. And firemen do so many good things. It is such a big-hearted organization.
Oh, I love firemen. We used to do Fill the Boot. I used to help them out with Fill the Boot all the time.
He'd come out and help us.
In uniform?
In costume. We'd be in uniform, out gathering money for...
In the middle of the street.
I know.
Yeah. I am
something
shocked.
we're not supposed to do, but they're out there in the middle of the street.
Yeah, we had that in Vegas as well over Labor Day weekend, doing the boot drive. And I was always amazing that no fireman ever got hurt. And I mean, it really was. But guys, you're kind of drawn to firefighters. So how did you meet Eldon, and tell us about kind of some of the cool projects you worked on?
I mean, honestly, I couldn't tell you the first time we met. Do you know?
I believe it was at the arena. I worked at the arena, and John and I just met up there because we were both working there together, and got to be friends, and then on down the road, we were pulled together to help kids.
And because I think what's funny is when I think of Eldon, I can't think of a day that, like I said, I can't think of the day that I met him. I just feel like you've just always been in my life. It's like you've just always been there. We have done so much together, and through the good times, the bad times, we've laughed, and there's been tears at Christmas shops when we see these children, and I mean, it's been a lot of fun.
It has.
So tell me, you've worked on a lot of charities. What are some of the charities that are closest to your heart?
This one's the biggest one. Firemen and Friends for Kids is the name of the charity, and throughout the years we've helped with baseball camps and with a basketball camp and with fishing camps, and we've taken the bear to one of the schools for the disabled kids. We went in with Santa Claus and the Jazz Bear, and brought all the kids out into the hallway and had them sit down with them to take pictures with Santa Claus and the bear. And that was probably one of the most special moments in my life, that 4 hours that we spent there.
And then putting pressure on you, who was more popular, the bear or Santa Claus?
I just said it. Santa Claus kicked my butt.
Yeah, Santa
Really?
Santa Claus
Santa's
through
giving
those was,
stuff,
That's awesome.
But it was an amazing day.
But Eldon, what's interesting is I have friends who find out that we're doing a show together, and kids who have met the bear, especially under 10 years old, it is something they will remember the rest of their life.
Undoubtedly.
And it's funny how kids are so impressionable, and a small thing can make a big difference.
That's for sure.
So tell me about what your organization, how do you raise money and how do you give it away to the kids?
We don't do a lot of public fundraising. Most of it is done by either word of mouth or by organizations raising funds for us. The Mascot Bowl that's coming up soon, that raises money for us to take kids Christmas shopping in that vicinity where the Mascot Bowl is held.
And that's going to be up in Davis County?
No, it's at FIREMEN High School.
Oh, okay.
And we'll be taking kids from the south end of the valley, southwest corner of the valley there, Christmas shopping. We're also doing one this year down in Eureka, taking all the kids in the Tintic School District shopping this year for Christmas, because that district is a very poor district. Most of the people that live there are...
Where is Eureka in the state?
It's...
Cedar Fort.
Yeah, you go down to Santa Quin and then go west.
Okay.
And keep going
up
west.
into the desert.
A long way.
It's way out there. Yeah.
Eureka's up at the top of the first set of mountains, and then the school district goes all the way to the Nevada border.
Okay.
And there,
It's an old mining town.
yeah.
Yeah, Eureka would be a great name for that.
Yeah.
And so you've been involved with helping kids out. Why do you think that firemen are so giving? Why is it just a culture? Or you just only good people get hired to be firemen?
No, I think it's in our DNA. I mean, that's why we do the job, is because we like to help people. We want to help people. You know, part of what you do is you see people at their worst. You know, when their house is burning down, when they've been in a car accident, you're there to help treat them. A lot of the things that you do as a fireman, you try and do to help people. You know, we also do inspections. You know, we go to all the businesses around and check and make sure that they're safe, so that their employees are safe. You know, it's a matter of helping people.
I still remember, and I think I told you about this. This is years ago when my daughter was younger. I mean, she's 20 now, and it was my daughter Sydney, and she must have been maybe 8 or 9, and it was in the winter. Well, it was cooler out, and she had croup, and so she was just having a real tough time breathing. I could hear it in the next room. Woke up my wife and went over. We get her out. We called the ambulance, the ambulance and the fire department showed up. But she was sitting on the couch, and I remember the fire guy showed up at the door, and it was just, I don't know. It was one of those just really sweet moments, I guess, where this kind of big, burly, gruff fireman comes in, and I'm explaining what's going on, and I point to Sydney on the couch, and she's trying to breathe, and I'll be darned, man. You know, you're a fireman, you're knocking down doors and running into fires, and he just turned into this little teddy bear, got down on his knees, he was talking to her, picked her up, put it on his shoulder, and then he went outside, and they came back in, and she was better, you know, and what it was is because the cold air, he said, helped her lungs, and they ended up taking her anyway. They put her in the ambulance, in the fire truck ambulance. I don't know how you guys decipher the two, but then we followed behind. But I mean, that to me will always be an amazing memory of what firefighters are. Is, you know, big and tough and strong on one hand, yet can console a little 8-year-old girl, and you know, almost bring me to tears watching her walk in, and she was smiling and breathing better after he'd been outside walking around with her. So it was cool.
Well, and for decades, and I've tried to figure out why do you think it is that you ask kids what they want to be when they grow up, and so frequently they say fireman.
Yeah, I think that's part of the fire truck, the noise, the being seen as the heroes coming.
Yeah, which is a cool way to be perceived by little kids as they're growing up. But, you know.
And you were part of South Salt Lake, but
Correct.
We've got some amazing firefighters who've done some really amazing things. But if you think about it, every accident you have to be on call. That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
You're rolling how many times?
It varied. Most stations go anywhere from 7 to 10 calls per day.
And each and every one of them could be a life-saving situation.
Correct. And 80 to 85% of them are medical calls to take care of people rather than going to put out a fire.
Sure. And when you're in that situation, you've got to make a judgment right away. What goes through your mind when you walk into a situation?
Well, I think it goes back to your training. You know, you're trained what to do in certain situations, and you know, if it's a medical situation, you go back to that medical training that you've had to take care of them, whether it's, you know, a certain type of treatment, or, you know, to rapidly get them to the hospital so that they can get the definitive treatment.
Yeah, and what an amazing way to make a living.
It was.
But now you're concentrating on charities. We've got the Mascot Bowl. Now, explain what goes on in the Mascot Bowl.
The Mascot Bowl is a football game between mascots, and we have mascots from the NBA, the NHL, the NFL, and local colleges. And what they do is they play football, full contact football, against the 8th grade football team. And so,
What kind of padding do the mascots wear?
I don't wear it. Well, back in the day when I didn't wear any. I just took the hit, and that's why the next day I was so sore.
So you were in full uniform, costume,
Yep.
and playing against 8th graders in full gear.
And that stuff is hard. The
Playing
problem
like
is,
real football though. I mean,
Yeah.
like
yeah.
you're hitting each.
They're killing us. It's hilarious because we didn't wear pads. Well, I never wore pads, and I know a lot of the other guys didn't either. Because you're just adding heat to your body, and you're just adding weight. You're already in a snowmobile suit, you know what I mean, and with a helmet on that you can't barely breathe.
but you do at least wear a helmet.
No.
Some
I
of
got
them.
some of them do. I don't have I have a hockey helmet in my head, a hockey helmet in my head. So that was
Yeah.
it.
Well, and I don't want to say that hockey helmets aren't that great, but look at me. You know, I was normal at one point, and
Really?
50 years of wearing a hockey helmet have not helped. But that sounds truly insane, because when you hit something, when you hit fellow football players, those for instance, shoulder pads are hard. I'm not saying anything that is going to win me a prize for genius here, but helmets are hard.
And 8th graders can be rather good size.
No, they really are.
Yes.
We had a kid. Do you remember that one year? Was he 3+, 100 pounds on the line? Do you remember that? And I'm looking around because I see this kid, and I'm just like, oh my hell! There's no way he's touching any of us. And I got, I think it was Grisby, who was one of our bigger guys, and I'm like, don't let him through the line.
Stop him.
That's how it was. But with the Mascot Bowl, I mean, you know, we started it a while ago, and its whole purpose was to raise money for the Christmas shop, and it did originate as well as just kind of being a really fun family night out. And you know, we do it on Monday night, which is family home evening, and it's only $3 to get in, and we do that on purpose because we don't ever want to exclude anybody because of cost.
What's the date of the?
September 23rd. It's just Monday coming up.
Okay, and this show will have already aired.
It will definitely have aired. So but I hope you guys came and saw it.
Thanks for coming.
But I mean, there's skydivers and fireworks, and we have Charlie Jenkins singing halftime, and it's a ton of fun.
And Randall's going to do some stand-up.
And Randall's going to do stand-up.
Sure, I'm going to play the ball.
Okay.
So, but because of this is why Firemen and Friends is able to do the Christmas shop and the fishing derbies, and we've even done a fire prevention video.
Yeah. And the Christmas shop, we've done stories a lot when I was working in the news on that, and it just makes such a difference for kids.
It really does, and part of that is the kids are allowed to choose what they want to get, and most of the kids are in poor families, and they buy stuff for their own family members.
Sure, and
rather than just stuff for them, and that is so special to see that.
That generosity of spirit.
On more than one occasion, and I know you've been there, is, you know, you've seen a child with their chaperone, they come up to the till to check out, and as the people that are bagging and the lady at the till, they start to realize that there's no toys and there's nothing that's going to fit this child, but the child just went and bought Christmas for mom, dad, and the brothers and sisters, and nothing for them. And I mean, on numerous occasions that's happened. And then you see, my favorite is when you see everybody just like, they're pulling out their wallet. They're like, here's money, go buy yourself
Get some
something.
toys.
Go get
Yeah.
toys.
Get something and make you feel good.
We average taking 550 kids Christmas shopping every year.
Yep.
So, it's a special thing.
Well, it is, and so many times a year, Salt Lake is a very generous city, and the state of Utah is very generous, no question. But sometimes at the holidays is when you can feel left out. And you've had some great guests on. One young lady who works just with kind of at-risk schools on the west side and helps out. But when you're around kids who maybe have a little bit more, those are tough times, and for the firemen to step in is pretty amazing.
Yeah, and it's fun. I mean, part of what we do is we match them up with a volunteer. And sometimes we have firemen that come and help us. And then we escort them, usually with lights and siren, from where we meet to the Walmart. And then they're meshed up with their chaperone. They go in and shop. And then they come through the checkout center. And like John was saying, it's just amazing to watch.
The thing that, some of my favorite memories as well is sitting in the front, because I always ride in the front of the bucket truck, and every year I've done that, and whether it was snowing or it was 30 below, and Santa Claus was with me, but my favorite thing is you're shooting through these neighborhoods over in Salt Lake there by the Sorensen Center, and sirens and horns, and I'm just like, it's 7:30.
Yeah.
This is great. They love us. But to go down Redwood Road, and I remember a number of times looking back, and you'd see all these fire trucks mixed in with buses and the police escorts, those guys shooting down the road to stop traffic. It was so cool. And you got to thank, like, everything that we do, you got to thank the people that help make it happen, the police officers, the firefighters, our group of people, Brenda, Andy, Rox, God bless her soul, Stacy. I mean, it takes a village to put all this on.
Sure.
And that is what, to me, is really precious to my heart, is knowing that we have such a good, committed crew of people that every year show up and help us put this on and make it work.
Well, what a great story. We're going to learn more about some cool events coming up right here in Salt Lake City. When we come back from the short break, you're watching Working for Charities.
Let's go.
And welcome back to Working for Charities. Randall Carlisle, John the Bear Absey, Trip Mitchell, and our guest retired from the South Salt Lake Fire Department after 37 years. 36 years.
Say
So-
37, it sounds better.
Yeah.
I had 2 years of part-time as well, so
Do you miss getting called out in the middle of the night
no.
and freezing your butt off?
No, I knew it was time to retire, and I've been retired now for almost 3 years, and it was a great career, and I'd highly recommend it, but I was done.
Okay.
There's all these stories, are they mythical or not, that all firefighters are good cooks, man, that you guys eat a lot of really good food at the station houses.
Not all of them, but we have many good cooks, and we put them to use every night.
Yeah.
So it's funny when you go to the grocery store and you've got the truck there, and the guys in getting their list together. So how does a shift work? How many hours are you on?
You work for 48 hours, and then you have 96 hours off.
So I'll do the math. So at least 7 days. No, I won't.
Work 2, off 4.
Okay.
So I don't remember how many years ago I went in. I was going to do a ride along at the fire station, and you show up, and I'm trying to be really respectful.
Sure.
This is the fire station, and serious firefighters.
Important work to do.
Important work to do.
Yeah.
And I spent the whole day there. And I remember watching these guys, they were wrestling, they were pulling pranks on each other, but it was like, honestly, it was like a frat house. That's the best way I can put it. Not quite, but I'm just saying.
Quite that bad.
No, not quite. But
Well,
honestly,
a sober frat house.
a sober one. But it made me jealous because I sat there and was like, it feels like you guys are like just a bunch of college roommates.
These guys have
hanging out.
fun.
They have fun, but
It's a family.
It is.
It truly is a family. When you spend that much time together, you get to know each other in and out, and you just know and love each other. You get to know each other's families, you get to know each other, how we act, and when you're out doing training, and you get to know how you will react in certain situations. So if you're on a fire, you'll know that the guy has your back.
And there have been probably many times where you've done something that could have killed you just to make sure that a fellow brother firefighter is going to be okay.
Yeah, many times.
It's actually, I mean, and I guess what I was getting at, the whole frat house comment, but what I was saying was really made me jealous is the fact of that brotherhood. I mean, like when I was in the military, I had
For us?
For
United
us,
States?
yes.
Okay, good.
So I was in the military.
As
So
a
when I was in
bear
the
had their
Army,
own, you know.
United
I
States
had
of Bear.
my
you know.
group of close friends, and it was like, and you know, out of those, the group of close friends and everybody else, but that camaraderie, that brotherhood, the fact that, like you just said, is, you know, knowing somebody's got your back, and that if something happens to me, I got, you know, 100 guys that are going to come storming up to help get me and make me safe. And that's what I think is so amazing about the fire department and the police department, you know, and all those others. But, you know, being in the firehouse, knowing that, you know, I'm watching these guys, that it's just their job, but love each other, you know, and I think that is just so special.
Did you go out and make many calls?
You know, so we went there, and I spent the whole day, and I was like, there was not one call, and I said, I'm just going to go home. And I took off, and about 10 minutes later, Elvin's like, we just got a call.
And that happens. I mean, there are days when you may not have anything.
Well,
That's when I first started.
You guys said it was the ride-along curse that people
And-
had to
Invite somebody and nothing happens.
And my wife was a cop, and I did a ride along with her. And I remember being in when everyone comes together for roll call. That was one, I will remember that for the rest of my life. It was so cool to be sitting in the room while the sergeant's up front talking about everything that they're going to encounter that night out on patrol. And the Hill Street Blues, you go back to all that stuff, and it is great. And you've done ride-alongs, I imagine.
Sure.
It's a great feeling.
And, I mean, when they take a TV station along, you know, because we're devoting a whole evening of riding along, hoping that
There's some activity.
some
And
cool
nothing
action.
did anything ever.
I think that, no, I don't. The one I remember seeing, and I'm saying, darn, I wish that would have been our station. Fox was riding along with Salt Lake City police car down around Pioneer Park, and they actually had a drug dealer come up. And it was a marked car come up and offer to sell drugs when they had their camera rolling. And I said, damn, why couldn't we have gotten that one? You know, that idiot who was doing that.
April Fools, yeah.
Yeah, you know.
I saw, it was funny, on one of the morning shows, a guy getting arrested on a ride-along situation for a TV thing, and he sees the camera, he's in handcuffs, and it's in Alabama, and he goes to the camera, roll tide, and just walks right into the back of the police car.
Wow.
That's a true fan right there.
Yeah, it is.
Well, Alabama, you know, Auburn or Tide. But the camaraderie there is so great. And police, you know, we've talked about your charity, which is firemen specific. Police do some amazing things as well.
Sure.
And they're great people, and in many cases, you're making a lot less money than you could. Some really super talented people making a lot less money than they could in the outside world. But yet, you know, being able to climb a ladder and go into a burning building is something that adrenaline rush is pretty amazing.
Oh yeah, it definitely is that feeling, especially when you can go in and help people. You know, climbing the ladder, the sirens, getting there, you know, seeing the situation when you get there, and seeing the whole situation rather than just focusing on one little part of it.
And I think that's where his heart went with Firemen and Friends for Kids, and how come he established it. So.
And you established it, and when you started it, was it tough to get firemen? So let's get the correct name, because I'll blow it here. Firemen
and Friends for Kids.
Perfect. And how did you end up starting that?
Well, like John was talking about earlier, you know, we actually, our group started doing Christmas shops back in 1995. Yeah. And it was with Sam's Club. And we did Christmas shops with them and helped them. And then it was Child's Christmas and Bill Child's, the at the time he was the owner of RC Willie.
Oh, okay.
And then we kind of took it in-house to do our own and started our own nonprofit of Firemen and Friends for Kids. So people who did donate to us could, have that tax advantage. And that was in 2003.
Great, and you've been doing it ever since, and you find some amazing, generous people.
Very much so, very much.
Salt Lake has got a giving nature to it.
It does. The people here are just amazing, are perfect. I mean, they big hearts, and they're willing to open their wallets.
And I think something that is really kind of like another one of those memories that's really special is the fact that, how many times do you think we went in and we're like, okay, we can take 200 kids Christmas shopping at the Salt Lake shop, and all of a sudden, like
we're at 250 or
250. Somebody will show up,
275.
because we'll tell these groups, okay, you can bring 50 kids, and then they'll show up with 75, and these guys will show up with 60. The next thing you know, we're like, okay, we're way over. And then we go and shop, and to this day, I still don't really know how it works, but we'll have enough money to get all those kids their presents.
Wow.
And then there's been days, and there's been times where we've been really fortunate where we
I
have
bet
been
you
short.
pulled a credit card out, but I'm not gonna.
But we've been a little short, and I think this really, like you said, says a lot about Salt Lake and the people that we're dealing with, and the fact that, I think Mark Eaton one year helped write a check to cover what we were short. Then I remember another year, Kay Malone called, and Carl helped cover a year that we were short. So, and then I think personally, a couple times everybody's just kind of throwing money in a pile and just to cover it. But I mean, that's happened so rare, but still just the fact that those guys were willing to step up and say, okay, we're here to help. And it's almost like, I don't know, like at some of those moments, when they were feeding bread and stuff to the, in the Bible, and the bread never ran out.
Bread and fishes.
Bread and fishes.
And
I'm Catholic and I couldn't remember that. Apparently I didn't go to school that much.
No,
you need to go
literally.
to confession, my son.
Yeah, so what is a bear confession like?
Oh man.
Do they have a special tree?
Yeah.
It's cool because he doesn't have to talk. See.
I got a story. After camera, we got stories that I'll tell you about.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show. And we've got a phone number and a website at the bottom of the screen right now that you'll be able to see, thanks to Lee. Hey, Lee, thank you so much. April helps us out on the show. For Randall and John the Bear, I'm Trip Mitchell saying we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. And remember, Utah is a great spot to be, and sometimes it can be even better if you give a little bit more. Thanks for watching.